Hello, good day, viewers, and welcome to another session of Code with Addo. Today, what we shall be looking at is arrow function. Arrow function. Let me head on straight to our editor, Visual Studio. Right? We want to look at arrow function. What are arrow function? Let me increase this so that it can be very big on your own screen. Yes. We want to look at arrow function. And on this our channel Code with Addo, what we do is like we try to take different sessions like a series. Like currently I have CSS for beginners. Subsequently I'll be having other programming language such as React, React Native, Python, and what have you. Okay, then so far also I have other series on HTML for beginners, CSS for beginners. Then there's another one, HTML and CSS for beginners. Okay, so whichever you think suits your own desire and the stage and level you are, you can do well to check around the channel. You will always find something that suits you to start with. And for JavaScript today, continuation in a series of JavaScript. We just started not quite long because before now we've done functions for beginners. It's a live session. Then there's another live session also on this channel called DOM and Event Listeners. DOM and Event Listeners. These are just like some of the very first things, introduction to JavaScript. And today we are also taking it a step further by looking at arrow function. But I want to look at arrow function being one of the ES6 key important aspect for modern web development. ES6, the full meaning of ES6 is ECMAScript 6. Some people call it the ECMAScript 2015. Okay, all these terms shouldn't scare you. What the ECMAScript 6 or ECMAScript 2015, what it means is that the 2015 there, it's like telling you the year that the major landmark, the major milestone in JavaScript. Before 2015, JavaScript used to be seen like just a tool that you can just use to play around the web and do something. But as from 2015, it becomes a full-blown up programming languages. In fact, that has become so versatile and so popular around the world today that is used for both front end, back end, and even your mobile app, iOS, Android, and it has so many frameworks that are built on it. Okay, so when you hear me talking about the ECMAScript 6, I'm also talking about the ECMAScript 2015, which in short form is usually called ES6. So we are talking about the same thing. Okay, so when we say the ES6, now what do we mean? The ES6, which is also known as the ECMAScript 2015, it's like telling us the stage, the year, the version at which it becomes more stable and becomes more popular and becomes so robust and versatile, becoming a full programming language that it's now wonderfully in use today in different framework and in different ramification. I think before 2015, the last one was ES5, which was called the ECMAScript 5. That was in 2009. That was actually in 2009. But after then, we had the major one as from 2015. So what we are looking at is this: when the ECMAScript 2015 came in, there are some wonderful stuff that came to play, and what we are looking at today being arrow function, it's the one of the very most wonderful things that was introduced in the ES6. There are other ones such as the variables, like using the let and constant, such as your template literal, such as destructuring, such as classes and other few ones. So we'll be taking this scope one after the other. So we'll be looking at all these modern things introduced in ES6. Okay, we'll be introducing them one after the other. This will help us, this will give us a very solid foundational base to be able to delve into other parts of the major thing we'll be doing, and even going into other frameworks such as Next.js, React, TypeScript, and what have you. But at least first thing first, we need to understand the basic things, and that is why today the first thing we'll be looking at today is the arrow function. it's what the arrow function. So let's hit up to the editor and explain this thing with code. You know how we do it. And once again, welcome to Code with Addo. If you are new to this channel, please do well to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and keep your notification bell on to always be in touch with us whenever new updates are being dropped. So what I've done, I ensured I zoom in on my Visual Studio. Normally it would be like this, but I purposely zoomed in so you could see it that clearly. And when I open the browser, I will also be doing the same thing. Okay, so to explain the arrow function, let's just head on to code. But before then, let me create a function. Let me create a folder on the desktop, and let's call this folder, we can just call it arrow function. Let's call it arrow function. And when we create our file, we create it in it. Okay, we'll create our file in it, or let's even open the folder directly on our Visual Studio. Is on desktop, and this is it, arrow function. Yeah, so I've opened it. We could keep this out of it, have this here, then slide this to the left so we have enough space. Okay, so let me do my Control N. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start heads on. And remember, for our arrow function, what we did is that before now, when you check around Code with Addo or use this link, there is a tutorial, there's a training, there's a content we have there, there's a video I have there named Functions for Beginners. That is the general function. That is how to use the normal conventional function that will have a name function, something or so. Please, if you are not yet familiar, if you are not familiar with functions and how to use functions, the basic use of functions, I will advise that before continuing this video, arrow function, I will advise you go back to that particular video, check around the channel, or you can use this link directly to access it. First of all, go through it, understand the normal regular function, because once you understand that, it will be easier for you to pick this up. Okay, and if you don't want to go back, I'll just do a very short introduction to that, how to use the normal regular function. I'll just explain it briefly right on this video, then we head on straight on to arrow function. Okay, so permit me, what I'll be doing here, let me just do the normal HTML normal HTML5 structure. Okay, so we can use to do our work. Let me save this. Let me save it as index.html. I'll try to drop this on a repo, and I'll share the repo with you subsequently so that you can always easily have access to the code. Okay, and what I'm doing here, of course, before you can do JavaScript, it is very advisable you already have some basic knowledge with HTML at least. But even if it is HTML and CSS, it's fine, but at least HTML. And if you are on this, if you find yourself on this video, and maybe what I'll be doing here, doing this HTML5 structure looks strange to you, then please, I will advise you check around the video and look at HTML for beginners. HTML for beginners. I have about 2 videos so far, step by step, on how you can go around your HTML. Please look into that, because this class is not for HTML, and I will not be explaining HTML here. I will just go on with what I have for today, which is arrow function. Okay, but still on the HTML structure, our title, let's have our title as that. Then here we have the body. We have the body, and in the body, let me just use the main semantic tag. Semantic tag are the special tag introduced in HTML5. I've explained that in our other videos on Code with Addo. Please so check around. Let's see. Okay, so let me just have maybe a h2. Yes, let me have maybe just h2 here, and let me give this an ID of display content. Let me just give this an ID of display content. Whatever we do with our HTML, whatever we do with our JavaScript rather on this particular course, we want to display it here using the inner text. Okay, those are manipulation in DOM, document object model. And like I said, go through my video if you are not yet familiar with HTML, CSS, and DOM. Please go through the channel, check around, and go through those ones to give you some basic understanding in what we shall be doing, so that what we'll be doing here right away will not look like magic to you. Anyway, so please let's proceed. And what I want to do is that before now, our script, we do them inline. We just write our script here, and what have you. But what I'm going to do now in this case, I write the script directly here. But what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to link it to an external script. Okay, I'm going to create another file, name it .javascript.js, and I will link it straight up here. Okay, so that we can have that, and there will be separation. Okay, there will be separation. The HTML will be in a different file, and the JavaScript will be on a different file. Okay, so I'll delete this and create that file, but let me link. So to link your JavaScript file, you use the script tag, but in the opening tag, you add your source to it. Okay, and let's call this, let's say, our styles. Okay, let's call this so let's call this, let's say, script.js. Let's call it script.js. So what it means is that Control N will create this file called script.js. Let me just save it, and I want it to be in the same folder. So I'll just give this script.js. That is it. Okay, that is it. So to test, let's test this. Let's be sure that we can access this file. Let's even be sure that there's a connection between it. So the first thing I want to do is to console log. Okay, I want to console log a text. I want to write a text to the console. So what I will do console.log. Then let me give this welcome to code with Addo. Okay, so once I save this, what I've done is this. What is console log? Like I said, I've explained, check JavaScript for beginners. I explained some basic things there, some basic introduction to JavaScript. So console log is just like you writing this thing. Instead of it appearing on the browser on your screen, it will appear on your console. Not everybody can see it. The console is like the dev tool where you can go and check using your F12, or you right click and go to your inspect elements. We'll look at that briefly. And there, once you go, there are different sections. There is the application, there's the network, and there's also a place called console. Okay, so you can see your output from this. So once you say console log, what you are doing is that you are saying let this text be displayed there. So let's go to our folder, our arrow function, and our index. Let me open with Google Chrome. I will also make this, let me zoom in. Yes, so what I do is go to your inspect, right click, come to your inspect, come to your console, and you can see that is it here. Welcome to code with Addo. Hope you can see it is very big. I've zoomed in. This is the console. Welcome to code with Addo. This is the network tab. We have the application. We have the application tab, which is here. You can click it, but for here, what we are interested in is the console. This is it. Welcome to code with Addo. This is just to show you that there is a link. There is now a relationship between our HTML, the index.html, and our script. Okay, this is it. But what we want to do here, like I said today, we want to look at function. And before now, the way you do your normal basic function, it's this. A function, maybe you could say function add, accept two parameter, maybe a and b. Okay, and you use your curly brace. Okay, and you come and maybe you give you say let results be, let's say, a plus b, okay, and you return your results. You return the result. In this case, I also explain, by the way, I explain what an anonymous function. It's an anonymous function is a function that has no name. But this our function, it's not an anonymous function. It has a name, and the function name is what? Add. The function name is what? Add. Okay, so we say let it result, and this is let it return the result, and this is also not a void function. A void function is a function that has no return, that does not return a value, but this returns a single value. Okay, so here to call this function, which is invocation, to invoke this function, you could say, since it has a return value, what it will return the addition, whatever you pass in. These are the parameters. Okay, these are the parameters. A and B are the parameters. Then the real value passed into them are called the arguments. Please check through my video JavaScript for beginners. I explain all these basic introductory things. I might not be able to go in details. The way you write a named function is that you write the keyword function, then and the name of the function, and then you have your parenthesis. Your parenthesis is this like open and close bracket. It's called parenthesis. They take in your parameters. Okay, so you define, you give the logic for your function. If it is not a void function, it will have a return keyword, just like we have it. And because it has the return keyword, so you could say let's also console log, and let's say console log. You call the function name add and pass your arguments. If you say 1 and 2, if you pass 1 and 2 to this, sorry, let's say you pass 1 and 2. So what 1 and 2? This 1 and 2 in this case are the arguments. Okay, this is the function name add. Okay, this is a function name add. Then you pass your argument. It comes to replace these parameters here as ABC and takes it and return it. Okay, so once you come to your console and you refresh, you have it as what? 3. If it were to be another value, it will always give you whatever. If you have 7 here and you have 5 here, yeah, you can save and come and refresh. You would have what? 12 here. This is the 12. This is the value here. Okay, then let me also introduce one last thing here. But before then, let me introduce something which is called the string, the template literal. Let's say we want to make this a void function, and we say maybe return result. Instead of returning results, let's just say let it console log it directly. Let it console log the results directly. Let it console log the results directly. So once you are here, you say console log result. Okay, so in this case, once you have it, this function now, this function add, this is now a void function. It is called a void function. Most times once you use a void function, you could just use it to display something. There might not be a reason, but at least you should know what you need to do with it for using it. But this is a void function because it has no return keyword in it, and because it is just to console log the result. So in this case here, you wouldn't need to add the console log as being double again. So all you just need to do in this case is just to invoke the function. You call the function. The right term is invoke. You invoke the function by writing the function name, add your parentheses, then pass your arguments to it. In this case, you also have the same result. You also have the same result as 12. So one last thing I would want to introduce here before we move forward to the arrow function, because we'll be using them. What I'm doing here is not arrow function. This is the regular function. I'm just explaining it for the sake, if you are just making this video for the first time and you really don't want to go back to check around the video to look at the functions for beginners, okay, and maybe probably you already have some basic understanding knowledge with all these things. All right, so now one thing I want to do here, let me also introduce the template literal. The template literal is also one of the key features that came along with the ECMAScript 6, the ES6. Yeah, instead of using the normal conventional concatenation using the plus before the 2015, like the template literals make things cleaner. And what it means is that here you can add a text to what we want to do here. So to do that, all you just need is this your tick up here. that's on your keyboard. On top of tab, there's this key before the escape, we call it tick. Okay, so you press it, it comes up with a double of it. So once you come, you can write a text. Maybe you can write the result. You could say the result, let's just say the result is now to pass the variable. Now that result, now you come with your dollar sign, you come with your curly braces, and you add it to it. You put the result inside it. Okay, you put the result inside it. So once you have it, this is your template literal. So once you come and refresh, you see you have it. The result is 12. So that is that. I've just introduced the normal regular function. I've explained what a void function is. A function that has no return keywords, that does not return a value, just like we just did now. And I've also briefly explained the anonymous function. An anonymous function is a function that has no name. Like this is not an anonymous function. This is a named function, because here there is function add. The add there is the name of the function, and you call the function by invoking the name of the function. And if there are parameters, you pass your argument. And I've also explained the difference between parameters and argument. I told you that in this case, this a and b that are inside this parenthesis are the parameters, while the value 7 and 5, or whatever value you decide to pass in your own case, those are the arguments. The arguments are the real value passed, while the parameters are like the placeholders in your function. Okay, so right now we want to take this same okay, maybe one last thing I might want to introduce here before we continue. One last thing I want to introduce, it's, you know, all we've been doing so far, it's writing into the console, right? We are displaying our result on the console, which is the dev tool. But now if we don't want it to be displayed on the dev tool, and we want it to be displayed on the browser itself, this browser we have here, we want it to display here instead of displaying on the console. We want it to display here. So what we'll do is this: we want it to display here instead of displaying on the console. Remember to go to the console, you right click, come to your inspect, okay, and you come to console. But if we want it to display directly on the browser, like I said, we'll use our DOM manipulation. We already have a space. We created this h to this display content. Okay, so what we'll do here is that we'll come and inside of this place, before even declaring the function, or after it anyway, after it, we can come now and say let's message, we can say let's message, let's get this by, maybe we can use our query selector, or we can use our id. Since we have id here in this our index file, this id display content, let's use it. Okay, there's difference between your get element by id and your query selector. The query selector is actually broad and give you access to app and give you the means to access other things here. But for now, for the sake of this class, let's limit it to our IDs, just to make it simple, so that it can go and target that particular ID and work with that. Okay, so what we'll do is that we'll say let message be equal to document.getElement by id. Okay, when we say get element by id, what is the id? The id itself is the id we specified here, which is this display content. Okay, you can copy it, you can paste it, or you can type it. Just make sure there's no mistake. Okay, once you have this, that is that. So once you come and maybe you add something to it, now you now say your message dot inner, I just want to explain something. You say your message.inner HTML, you give it equal to, actually this is not equal to, this is the assignment sign. This is the assignment. We only call it equal to like in mathematics, but in coding generally, this is the assignment. We're assigning this to it. Okay, so now let's not even give it the inner HTML. Let's just give it a text content. Let's give it a text content. Let's assignment sign, we could say hello world, yeah. Okay, so once we come and refresh our browser this time, you see we have this hello world here using our text content, right? Using our text content. Just take note of this. This is just like a basic DOM manipulation. If this is still strange to you, check around on the channel where we have event listener and DOM for beginners. I think it is called DOM and event listeners for beginners, and take advantage of this link to access it directly. Okay, just take note of that. So now back to our arrow function. Now that we already get this, so now we want to do the same thing here, but this so far all we've been doing is using our regular function and what have you. But now, to do this, what we want to do now is we want to use our arrow function, and you could come and say constant. I already explained the difference between constant and let. Constant and let both are variable. Constant hold a value that you do not expect to change over time, while let holds value that can change over time. I've explained that in my JavaScript for beginners. You can go over there and understand it, okay? But for now, let's just go on. Here we could say constant add is equal to if in the rule it's this is your parenthesis, right? Then this is called the fat arrow. It is the arrow, it is called the fat arrow, and this is where you declare your you have your braces, your curly braces, where you write the logic you want for your function. What I've just done here, like having something as constant add equals to this parenthesis, then your fat arrow, then your curly brace. This is the same thing as saying function, but you see that now the word function is no longer there. It replaces it. That add, you just take it function add, it's equal to this straight up. Okay, it is equal to this. This is like shorter, this is more concise, and in fact there are places that, especially in some framework such as React, Next.js, and some places you use this keyword. I might not want to go into all that technical thing for now, but all I just want you to know that you can decide to use your regular function, your named function, the way you do it like we did it before. But there's a stage you get to, especially when you are in collaboration and using some framework, that arrow functions are used. They make your work neater, they make it more standard, and make it more to align to the international required standard. So for any programmer that wants to go advanced, that want to be able to work with other developers, at least on a basic and standard way, it is highly advisable you understand your arrow function. Okay, so just like we did that place, this is where you also add your parameters. Inside this parenthesis, you add your parameters. So let's give it the same A and B. So this same place, we can also say let's assign the addition. Let's assign the addition, and you could say console log, just like we did over there. You could say console log using your tick as well. You could say the result is, you pass the dollar symbol, then you come back into your curly bracket and you give it this result, and you do this. Okay, so to also invoke this, you also use the what, the function name. In this case it is what, add, and you pass the argument. So here if we say 3 and maybe 5 in this case, we say 3 and 5 in this case, and you give it this way, what do you expect when you come to your browser? Likewise, once you refresh, you see the result is 8. It works exactly the same way like your normal regular function. Okay, but this is you converting this to what, to arrow function. And look at something, there's a rule here. If you come and if the parameter is just 1, you really don't even need your parenthesis. If the parameter is just 1, you don't need your parenthesis. You can come and pass the parameter directly. But that means when you come in this place now, you could say a times, you could say a plus b, a plus 2. Let's just give it where, just like the result is this. Okay, so what happened now in this case, you don't need 2 arguments, you only need at least a single argument. What I'm just telling you is that look at this thing. This a can be anything. You can name it anything. You can actually name it anything. Okay, you can name it anything. You can name it anything. So now let's say 3 now. 3 now represents a. So once it comes, it takes the value of a, which is in this case 3, it adds 2 to it to make it 5. So in this case, once we come and refresh, what do you see? The result is what? The result is 5. This is simple as you using your arrow function. What I've just explained right now is just the basic way of converting your normal function into your arrow function. There might be other courses I'll be doing that might take this to another level, makes it more standard. But for now, all we are just doing is this. We are converting the normal regular function to use as an arrow function. And in this case, instead of us writing it to the console, what if we also want this result to be displayed on the browser using our DOM? What do we do? Using our DOM, okay? So we could come as well, and in this place, we can say let the message, like we did the other time, we could say let message be equal to what is the ID. Like we say, we are using get element by ID is display content. So we could come and say let message be document dot get element by ID. Let's give it our display content. Please make sure whatever is there is exactly the same thing. If you are confused, you can always come and you can always copy and paste. Okay, so in this case, what we do now is that we are going to say that give this message now, this message, give it an inner, give it the text content, this message, give it the text content, and let it be what? Exactly this thing that is being passed here. Exactly this thing that is being passed here. That is invoking the function and putting it up to the content directly. So once we come here and we refresh, yeah, when we come, we refresh it, it's not displaying on the browser, but it's showing on the console. Why? Okay, I know why. In this our case, look at something, okay? This is a void function. This is a void function. It doesn't return a value. Please take note of this. This is where the beauty comes to play. This is a void function. So when this is called outside this place, it is null. This function is going to be null. Aside from it writing to the console, which it will do within this plate, is going to be null. So for you to have the value outside this place, you need to return it. Okay, you need to return it, because look at something. Let me show you something here for you to know that it is null. When you come here and you say, look at another console, the second console, let's say console log. Let's console log this directly. Once you come and refresh it here, you see the first one, the result is 5. That was the first thing that was displayed. But this is what? Undefined. This is undefined. It is actually undefined. Okay. So for you to be able to use it, because if it's a void function, it will be undefined. Okay. For you to be able to use it, that means you will need to return the value. That means you say return results. Return result. So in this case, it will console log, it will return it. So I don't actually need this. Look at it. It will have it in a double way now. Look at it. It will display both on the browser. You see it is displaying on the browser and it is displaying here, right? But what we just want it to display on the browser and maybe let it console log. Okay, so this will display it to the browser, and this particular text content here will update the screen as well. This will console log, this console log will write it to the console, while this message.text content will write it to the screen so it can be obvious on the screen. So once we come and refresh, you see, I think it's big. We are already on 150% as against 100. So this is it on console. The result is 5, but this is 5 here. Why? Because we are just returning it exactly as it is. Okay, if you want the result to also be there, you can add it. You can always play around that. Okay, please take note of that. Is that if you want this to appear generally with a string, you can use definitely the template literal. So what you can remove this whole thing. You wrap it around the backtick. The backtick is this sign up, like single quotes, but slanted. It's on top of your keyboard, your tab. Once on top of your tab, you say just press it, it will bring it. So you can say the result, or let's use another thing. The addition. You can say the addition, it's, of course, you know what to do. You now bring your dollar, bring your braces, curly braces, and add it to it. the addition it. This would the addition it in this case will be what 5, since we are passing 3. And on the console, what we see the result is this. So once you come here and refresh now, you see the addition it's 5, and on the console the result is this. So we can do away with the console and know that we are only dealing directly on our browser using our DOM to update it. Okay, so please, what I've been able to do here is to explain briefly how to move from your normal regular function, maybe name function, to an arrow function. And like I said, arrow function is one of the most wonderful stuff introduced in ECMAScript 6, and I've already explained the ECMAScript 6. I said it is called the ECMAScript 6, or you can also call it the ECMAScript 2015, and that was the year that there was this major milestone that made JavaScript becoming like a full-blown programming language that is now versatile and that popular today. And all we've looked at the arrow function, and we didn't take it too far. Like I said, if you want to go very detailed in coding, to be able to collaborate and work on some framework as well, and to be able to even use your return function, your callback function, to be able to use your callback function effectively in many other places we'll be advancing to later in the course of our features on CodeWithAddo. It is very important at least you understand this basic use of your arrow function. And that is just what we've looked at today. Please stay by. If you have questions, you can always drop it on the comment, or you can always reach me one-on-one at codewithaddo@sidoitech.com. And whatever question you ask, it will always be my pleasure to make time and ensure you get answers to your question. Thank you once again. Please stick by, as subsequently we'll be adding other stuff that will be like continuation of what we've done today, going mainly into like maybe classes, destructuring, variables, and other stuff. Okay, please stick by, stay with us, and always be updated. Thank you, and God bless you.